3 points! Can you believe it? I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm buzzing for Jack. I'm buzzing for the fans. Genuinely, I'm just delighted because also the performance was there. I said it in the previous one against Mansfield. It will take time, and Jack now knows after Mansfield what needed to be done. So happy days. 3 points in the bag against Northampton. Delighted for the fans that have travelled such long distances. And now they although it's a shorter distance, they get a chance to experience a win on the road. And there haven't been too many of those recently. We got promoted from the Championship with constant itty-bitty 1-0 to the Luton again performances where we defended with grit, determination, and ultimately they weren't the prettiest performances, but we got the 3 points that mattered. Is it a complete performance? No. But I would say, considering the work that had to be done and the confidence that had to be rebuilt, it's sort of 80% of the way there. It's definitely going in the right direction. We are going that way rather than that way or that way, sideways, meandering. So that's good. And now we have the games against Brighton, under 21s, in the Virtue, and then we have the reflow derby, Jack Wilshere versus Robbie Savage, the James Mooney derby. James Mooney is the head of operations at Luton Town. So all those things that has TNT absolutely licking their lips. I hope they interview James Mooney on the pitch for that one. That would be nice. And we have all those to sort of get through before we taste league action again. And that is what matters ultimately. Getting players in, and it was returning players today that were the impressive ones. I'll point them out later on in this video. So if we have a look at the lineup, Keeley in goal, it was Bramall a left back. Who would have thought that Cohen Bramall was actually a left back? Marvellous. So it was back four, not back three. Naismith sort of tucked in. He was the left side centre-back. Mengi, more on him later, the right side centre-back. And then Makosso, who actually dropped out of the squad altogether. Don't know if he's ill, like Ali, but he dropped out of the squad altogether. He's been playing out of position, and Nigel Longwick came in to replace him. And then you had Saville sitting, Lamine Fanny and Jordan Clark, who up until his removal from the pitch, I would say, for injury, I'd say Jordan Clark was probably the best player on the pitch. And then you had a start for young Jake Richards on the right, Kajua on the left, and Naki Wells going for redemption at centre forward. Now, the first half was kind of a non-event, but I would say Luton Town were ultimately the team that were on top throughout the first half. Northampton, when they did have a go, it was kind of limited. There wasn't too much there. They set up, they were organised, and we could threaten sparingly. But when we did create the chances, and this was a variety of chances. We weren't just taking it down the wings and hooking it in. We were actually creating through the middle of the park. And we actually look pretty good playing through the middle of the park because we have footballers like Lamine Fanny and Jordan Clark. And George Saville can actually play football as well a little bit. So there was one absolutely fantastic moment. Jordan Clark from the sort of half space, and he hit the bar. No, he didn't hit the bar. It was headed clear. And I think Lamine Fanny also had a little go at the bar. I can't remember if that was the first or the second half. I think it was the first half. Computing. Well, rest assured, whether they were the first or the second half, we did create chances through the middle of the park. The underlying problem is finishing the chances. And there was one great moment where Jordan Clark, he sort of hooked it in from the byline, but it was on the edge of their box. And Naki Wells from 2 or 3 yards out managed to get it over. Not ideal Not ideal. He's obviously a player lacking in confidence. Potentially removing him from the starting lineup could help. But Yates, when we saw Yates come on, he also looked quite low in confidence. And it's one of those things where the coaches need to rebuild that confidence. And ultimately, it's wins. Wins are the currency, the confidence currency. And with more wins, you get more confidence and more momentum, and you can actually start trudging up that table. And at this point, the table is very condensed. So a couple of wins can make all the difference. As we saw today, we got up to 10th. So that is excellent. There was a lot of good from the performances today. Mainly, I'm happy with the defending. It shows the players are actually putting the care back into defending. And it was the returning players today. So actually, if we move to the second half, it was the changes from the bench and the returning players that made all the difference. So you have the likes of Izzy Jones coming on, and pretty much his first involvement after coming back. And he was playing on the left for some reason. I don't know. I always thought he was like a right winger, but he's a left winger apparently now. Comes in, just charges down the left, slides the ball in, and Lamine Fanny making a Luke Berry, Cameron McGeehan-esque late charge into the box. Although he was like sort of the furthest forward with Yates and Wells sort of going separate directions and not really affecting the ball. Lamine Fanny finishes strong. It was a very strong run because there was someone right on top of him. Fair play. Absolutely buzzing for Lamine Fanny. I think that might be his first goal for the club. If it is, absolutely buzzing for you, Fanny. Well done, mate. That was Izzy Jones's impact. Direct running and an actual decent cross from that sort of space that you know, we're trying not to exclusively play down. But ultimately, I mentioned before, Jordan Clark and Lamine Fanny both had good chances. In the first half, well, they had good chances from that space in front of goal that we created through the middle. Lamine Fanny also had another chance in the first half where he sort of ran it into the centre space, had a shot that bent round, and it went wide, but Nahki Wells could have actually got the finishing touch, but he sort of pulled out of it. Again, it could be a confidence thing. As I mentioned, maybe he could do better if he came off the bench and affected the game a little bit later, but I guess sometimes you're just trying to play a guy into form, which is fine. When Jerry Yates came on, he could have scored with his first touch, but again, a confidence thing. A confident striker would take that chance first time, sort of dink it over. But he tried it around the keeper, and he actually tried it twice. But to be fair to him, when Northampton were pressing for a chance at the end of the game, and I haven't forgotten about Odofin's contribution, when Northampton were trying to get back into the game, normally a Luton Town team would fold. And fair play, the defenders kept cracking on. They kept doing their jobs. And we actually started creating stuff up the other ends of the pitch. We could have scored 2 more goals. One of them was a tremendous counter-attack. And I'm actually delighted with the speed that we moved the ball forwards. There were times in the first half I felt like we were potentially feeling them out. Maybe in the second half, Jack told the boys, be a bit more brave with and fast, how you break. And we saw that in the second half. That is just me assuming, because that is the way it looked like. We did look like we were playing with a lot more pace and directness. So a very clever play, playing the ball to Yates while he was still in our half. So he was onside and he laid the ball off to Nahki Wells. Nahki Wells actually injured himself, ballooned the ball over the bar. Again, confidence. Who knows? But I do think he needs a bit of time on the bench, potentially. Maybe try Yates. And then Yates actually had the chance, and it was a good chance. Could he have done better? Maybe. But I think from where he took the shots, it was good. And the Stevenage goalkeeper did well to save it. Anyway, so balls to the wall defending. This is something that was typical Luton for many, many years. And, okay, Cal Naismith, he made a mistake. I don't ultimately know what he was trying to do, whether he was trying to head it back to Keeley, whether he was trying to head it out of play, or just trying to get ahead on it. Northampton striker takes the ball, Managed to slide it past Keeley, but it's a bobbler, and a Dauphin who's come on for his first appearance makes a vital stop on the line. It's not so much the stop that impressed me. It's the reaction from Ted and Mengi, because we've all had this opinion of Ted and Mengi. He just doesn't care, and to be fair, he hasn't helped in that regard. But with this, he was buzzing for that potential clean sheet. He was absolutely buzzing, and fair play to him. He gave a Dauphin a massive hug, pulled him out of the goal mouth, well, the goal net, because he got all tangled up. And that's what you want. You want togetherness. And that togetherness was further exemplified by the huddle at the end of the game. And that made me very happy. It sort of makes you feel like John Still is back in the building. And that is what you want, ultimately. You want that togetherness, because togetherness can only go so far. Confidence is bred by wins. We need wins and confidence. And it's kind of a feedback loop, isn't it? So you get more togetherness by getting wins. You get confidence by getting wins. And they all feed into each other. I might not be making sense. I'm just delirious. I'm delirious with happiness because, yeah, wins, right? There haven't been too many of those recently, but this is new Luton, hopefully, and Jack has his first win, and he's a lovely guy. I'm buzzing for him. Him, the coaching staff, absolutely delighted for all of them. It's a tremendous, tremendous achievement, and hopefully one that they can continue to build on with the Virtue, then the FA Cup, and then onto the league. And hopefully more players coming back from injury. Hopefully these players that do come back from injury can have the same impact that we saw from a Dauphin and Izzy Jones today, because ultimately that is what you need. And remember, wins equal confidence. Confidence equals togetherness. So wins, and maths was never my strong point. Neither is talking, apparently. Yes, we need togetherness in the fan base, and you get that from wins. You get wins from having a confident team. There you go. I made it work. So we'll be back tomorrow. Today, depending on when you're watching this. Sunday night, 9 p.m. We got the fan phone in. Wednesday, we are going to be back with a midweek catch-up. We didn't have one last week because of things and commitments. But we will be back. And whenever you're watching that, that's Sunday night, 9 p.m. Subscribe and hit that bell so you know when we go live. And Wednesday, midweek, 9 p.m. catch-up. We'll look forward to having you all there. And most importantly, come on, you Jack Wilshere's Hatters!